Gamers reject Assassin's Creed Shadows woke pandering. Woke pandering.
Hey, what's up guys, Rev here. So yesterday we got the official world premiere trailer for Assassin's Creed Shadows, and a lot of people have been talking about this, mainly criticizing a lot of aspects of this trailer. So you can see right here on YouTube, it has reached over 300,000 dislikes and has a like-dislike ratio around 30 or 40%. It's not very good, and there is a long list of reasons as to why people are criticizing this trailer.
There's not. There's one reason, really. There might be two, depending on if you hit the racism sexism combo deal that a lot of gamer gators love. But it really comes down to the fact that the main characters are a woman and a black man. Like that's the reason. I know Rev doesn't really take any time to write any scripts out, so he's just like filling the airtime with shit just to hear himself talk, so he can get the video to, what is it? Yeah, just past the ad revenue and algorithm point. But it's racism. I'm gonna have a little spoiler for everybody here. It's racism. Screw it on YouTube asking, wasn't there a Netflix anime recently about a real life black samurai? Same samurai. Yeah, here's the really interesting thing with Yasuke, is that Yasuke is a very famous, like, cool pulp character because it's a cool thing that happened in history that, like, hey, there was an African dude who became a samurai, like a black guy who became a samurai. That's neat. Assassin's Creed, I would say a series that has a playful relationship with reality and historical accuracy, but likes to uses history as a playground, right? So them using Yasuke as a main character is completely expected. That is completely in line with everything else the series has ever done, like, at all. The only reason somebody would have a problem with it is because they don't want a black person in their game. The fascinating thing about this Assassin's Creed scandal, and I use the word scandal very loosely, but the fascinating thing about it has been watching a quote-unquote culture war, a controversy bloom from inception. Because as soon as the trailer dropped, and we'll go into this today, people like Grumps had a narrative ready. In the first day, I went through and actually counted it. Grumps tweeted 30 times. 30 times. Sharing unsubstantiated reports that the game had been changed behind the scenes to his audience of 160,000 or something. And make no mistake, the reason he's doing that is to keep farming engagement off of it, because he knows it's hot. Like, he could have said everything he wanted to say with one tweet. He did it 30 times between tweets and retweets. And you'll notice, like we were just watching Rev Says Desu, like I have the quartering pulled up, like we have Some Ordinary Gamers, everybody is jumping on this controversy. But here's the interesting thing, because I was thinking about this earlier today. You know what controversy went away really quick? And I say, again, controversy, not an actual controversy. Because I myself, I barely kind of wanted to cover this, except it is such a good example of how they manufacture these controversies. On how they basically keep people distracted with the shit that doesn't matter. And how they themselves, through their actions, will kind of cop to how this shit doesn't matter. When X-Men 97 first came out, 3 months ago, ruined by Disney wokeness, 3 months ago, confirmed woke trash from the quartering. Disney destroys beloved X-Men 97. When something they think is going to be woke comes out, and qualitatively it's good and everybody likes it, and they can't blame wokeness for the quality, and they understand, oh shit, everybody likes this. You'll notice a lot of these videos are over a month old. Now, I bring that up because it plays into this idea that we're seeing start with Assassin's Creed Shadows. We are seeing this phase happen right now, where we will get a whole bunch of people talking about how they've ruined it, they've made it woke. Now, what's the utility of that for these folks? If you find yourself wondering, why would this group of people spend so much time and energy just talking about random incidental culture war things, making big deals out of essentially nothing. Go and just as a refresher course, go and look at the quartering's output. This is everything I never want to be. Because he puts out, just today, he's put out 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, about 6 videos. And y'all know you'll be lucky to get one, even a stream highlight from me, which is essentially what he does, by the way. He just puts up unedited content. But this is the template. This is the blueprint. Even for people like Grums, even if they don't have a YouTube channel. If they are in this space, this kind of vaguely right-wing space, I won't call it fully right-wing, because even though they're anti-woke, a lot of them will call themselves centrist or liberals, or they'll say, oh, I believe trans people should have rights. So I don't want to ascribe to them something that isn't true. But in this space, this anti-woke space, you will notice that they will latch on to just about goddamn anything. And that's important to remember as you see all of these people jumping on the Assassin's Creed Shadows bandwagon. Not because it's actually an important cultural battle to be fought and won, but because they know if they can sell the outrage until the game comes out. When does the game come out? Come out in November, I think? November 15th. That is a meal ticket right there. If they can jump on that bandwagon now, that is just one of the many, many narratives that they get to ride until November 15th. And here's the real thing. Because I was just talking about X-Men 97 coming out, right? And it was so good that they had to drop the narrative around it. Nobody is talking about how woke it is and it's woke and broke. Because people like it. It's a good show. I still need to watch it. But every time a new episode drops, I see my feed blowing up like it's goddamn Game of Thrones. Which is never what I expected from a successor to the 90s X-Men series. Like, I'm excited to sit down and watch the whole thing. I just like to watch the whole thing at once. And the thing with something like Assassin's Creed Shadows is that it kind of doesn't matter how the game is going to be. I really like the last couple of Assassin's Creed games. I still think they're probably like a 7, maybe an 8 on a good day, Like, I played the hell out of Odyssey. I like Valhalla. I didn't finish it. But I'm down for a new Assassin's Creed. It's been a minute since I've played one. Honestly, though, knowing Ubisoft, the game will probably be just okay. Like, most Ubisoft games are just okay. That doesn't actually matter in the grand scheme of the narrative, though. Because either the game will come out, and if it's not a buggy, like, Unity-level mess, Assassin's Creed Unity-level mess, it's going to be forgotten about. In this narrative, in this kind of anti-woke grifting ecosystem. It's going to be completely forgotten about, because by then they'll already have 3 other meal tickets to latch onto. They'll have 3 other, I guarantee there will be some kind of reboot that's announced that has a female cast member, or a new animated series that has a black person in it, or something that gets a gay character, and they will freak out about that and just continue making this shit over it. Let's go back to, I guess, let's see what Rev Says Desu has to say while we're here, and then we'll go over to the quarter pounder real quick, because I want to let, I guess, the people who believe these are real problems speak for them in their own words.
And let's begin with the most talked about point, and is the choice of the main characters. Now, there are 2 main characters, and remember, as stated right here, this takes place in feudal Japan, and yet the main characters are a woman and a black man. That just seems like a very odd thing for a setting in feudal Japan. A lot of people were expecting, at the very least, a Japanese set of main characters, but that's not what they got. Instead, they got the character based on a real person called Yasuke, okay? So looking into this character, we've seen other people try to raise whataboutisms, saying when Shogun came out, they're asking, where is Yasuke, the first Japanese samurai? And people, of course, were getting their historical timelines wrong in that case.
Yasuke was not... God, see, Rev, this is what happens, buddy, when you don't write down what the fuck you're saying. You say things like, Yasuke was the first Japanese samurai. Just, this is what happens when you're off the cuff. Yeah, it's Yasuke, right? Not Yasuke. Yasuke. I'm pretty sure. I try. Yasuke. Yeah, I'm also, like, again, far be it from me to criticize production values of other people, but, like, bro, you're the anime tuber. Like, you have anime on your profile, you got a VTuber and everything, and you're, like, while there's been a massive outcry about Yasuke, there wasn't the same outcry about the Netflix show that happened just a couple years ago. Or when Yasuke was in Samurai Warriors, a series set in feudal Japan. They didn't seem to be too terribly mad. Remember the game Nioh? Another game set in feudal Japan, starring a samurai who, in the first Nioh, the samurai was a British dude, a white dude in Japan. Interesting. They didn't have a problem with it then. This is a little old. This one's for the old heads. But do you think they would have a problem with Afro Samurai? Do you think they would say, "Oh, Afro Samurai is racist"? As it's depicting a, although Afro Samurai is more of like a futuristic kind of vibe. It's kind of it's not really feudal Japan, but kinda, but not really. But do you think they would have the same problem? I feel like they might not. Because again, remember when we were talking about just a second ago, when something becomes good, when it comes out and it's good and it gets accepted into canon generally as like, oh yeah, that's a good piece of media. That's what these things already are. That's why you don't see people bringing them up in arguments to support their point. Because we know that stories about foreigners as samurai, games about people who aren't Japanese being samurai, can not only be good, but be popular. We know this. But as Synth Potato here brings up, the thing is that everybody has been going back on the idea, they've been making, as they are wont to do, incredibly pedantic arguments, like Yasuke not being a samurai. And here's the thing. At a certain point, if you have to resort to that kind of pedantry for historical accuracy's sake, quote unquote, they want to say they're defending historical accuracy. Again, where were they for the rest of the Assassin's Creed series? Where were they when you were finding magical artifacts in Egypt or under the fucking in the center of the earth doing virtual reality Elysium shit at the end of Odyssey? Like, where were they when you were going to Valhalla and fighting demons? Where were they when you were fist fighting the Pope? I think what this shows, if there's something that the Assassin's Creed Shadow, if you can, again, I don't even want to call it controversy because it's all so forced. Like, all of it is so forced from top to bottom. Like, at any point somebody has about this, they say it's forced diversity. Okay, well, no, it was based on a real person. They say it's not accurate to history. Okay, well, yeah, Assassin's Creed never has been. It's historical tourism. It's meant to be fun and goofy and pulpy. They say, okay, well, it's forcing DEI in Japanese stories and it should center Japanese characters. As if we don't have any samurai games starring Japanese characters. But also as if we don't have a history of samurai games starring this particular character, Yasuke. Games, anime, movies. So all you're left with are hollow arguments by people like Grums, by people like the Quartering.
Ah, the samurai. Many of you remember them prominently featured in the Black Panther Wakanda Forever. Wait, was it?
Already, we have him just padding time for his you'll notice also, again, all of his videos kind of just edged just right around the 11 to 12 minute mark.
Now, what was that samurai show Family Matters? No, that wasn't samurais. Fresh Prince of Bel-Air? I love Fresh Prince. I don't think those were samurai. Well, according to Ubisoft, which has made the new Assassin's Creed game, they were in fact black. And even the black community, gotta give a shout out here, is roasting them for it. Assassin's Creed is a game that has basically gotten worse with every...
Also, very funny that, like, the Quartering most certainly has not played an Assassin's Creed game in years and years. I can almost guarantee it.
new iteration of it, but is generally worth a clearance sale purchase of $5 to $10 because it did pioneer a lot of mechanics. It's been a very interesting game over the years. For those who don't know, you basically obviously play an assassin in the game, and for all the years, for all the games, you've played kind of as a different ethnicity. For example, when you played in Italy, you played as an Italian man. France, you played as a Frenchman. America, of course, you played as a Native American, not a white guy. In Greece, Greek man, Norway.
It's also not true. You play as a half-white, native-born, indigenous person. Also, famously, one of the most popular, too. I really like Rogue a little bit more than Black Flag, but Black Flag you play as a Welshman. And in Rogue, you play as an Irishman. In the Caribbean. So, also in Assassin's Creed Freedom Cry, you play as Adewale. Also in Assassin's Creed Liberation, you play as what's her name? Who was also, she was Cajun. She was half Creole. I don't remember the exact, but she was also mixed. So, already, that's like 5 games that he's wrong about off the bat. Good stuff. Good stuff, buddy.
Interesting. They have all sorts of, I think the Arab character, or whatever the, I don't know. That's just a meme going around. I'm not totally sure about Ubisoft, but, I think, the whole thing is weird. The whole thing is so weird to me. And you see, I'm hearing the next Assassin's
Creed. I'm so glad. Again, this is why I don't watch much of the quartering stuff, because there is no thought or effort put into any of it. He has spent like 20 seconds of this just being empty airtime as he's just going, oh, it's so weird. Oh, this is so weird to me. Like, I don't quite get it. It might be a meme. It's incredibly frustrating.
Game is going to be set in Japan and have a black man as the main protagonist, Yasuke. Social media is about to get all social media all over itself. Well, first of all, Yasuke was not a samurai. He was more like a squire in the samurai. We got
another pronunciation of Yasuke. I'm gonna end up saying it fucked up by the end of this. Yasuke. Fucking what? These are the guys who are supposed to be like, oh, they're standing up, they're defending Japanese culture, and they want everything to be proper. It's like, man, what the
people have brought up. Again, I want to give all the credit here, as a white guy. Let me give Kaida Khalil Too Short on Twitter. Let me give him the credit here. Listen to this.
So we got our first look at the new Assassin's Creed game, and I gotta say, man, I'm not impressed. I'm actually just really annoyed right now. We have 2 main protagonists, 1 female, 1 male, just like Odyssey. We're gonna be using Neo, I hope I said that right, a female Japanese character. And for the male character, they're gonna be using Yasuke. Now, I'm annoyed because they're using Yasuke, and I'm gonna tell you why. Yasuke is what they want to say is the first black Japanese samurai, when in all actuality, he was not even a samurai.
True.
He was a retainer. So he wasn't even a full-blown samurai. And for all of...
So, again, I love how the quartering is just like, he's like, yeah, that's true. That's right. When he clearly didn't even know the terminology and is just trying to regurgitate something he looked at for half a second on Twitter, like most of these folks. Continue.
The characters they could have used for Japan, all these kind of different people they could have picked from, they picked Yasuke. Why do they pick Yasuke? Because he's black.
You know what's hilarious, too? Part of those Assassin's Creed games, I think I only played maybe 2 of them. But...
Oh! No! I'm gonna fill my water real quick. I'll be right back. So, I don't care care if somebody doesn't play Assassin's Creed. Like, I've enjoyed most of the games over the years. I really like the RPG style of the more recent ones. I have a lot of nostalgia for the roof jumping style of the ones before that. Like, I think they are, at worst, they are almost always enjoyable games and stories, and the characters and everything vary. I like Assassin's Creed. I don't love it. I'll pick one up. That being said, if you're going to have a video where you start off talking about Assassin's Creed like you know shit, and then you say a couple minutes in, I've played 2 of them. Like, he just gives up the grift so easily. Jeremy is so fucking bad at this. How I do not know how he doesn't have just better, like, the knowledge about the optics of how this makes him look. Not that he needs to. Again, not that he needs to, because people will just suck this shit up. The crowd that wants to be angry about this will just suck it up. Yeah, no, somebody else just pointed out in the chat. He's padding his video with another video. Was that on YouTube? Yeah, I think somebody on YouTube said it. Like, this is really a perfect illustration. This video in particular is a perfect illustration of how they grift. Like, he is relying on other people's content to help pad out his links so he can get ads and revenue and all that shit. He doesn't know what the fuck he's talking about. He can't even pronounce Yasuke correctly. He can't even, like, he doesn't know the difference between a retainer and what a squire is what he said. Like, dude, what are you busy doing all day? Like, I know it's not putting time and effort into your fucking content.
Well, I remember one of the mechanics was like doing something and then like sneaking away in the crowd. It's going to be kind of hard to see Black Samurai do something stealthily in Japan.
So in context, that doesn't matter to me, because in all the Assassin's Creed games, every single character has been of some kind of different race and nationality, so that doesn't matter to me. That's fine. But you have to understand what day and age we're in. You have to understand the kind of social shit that they want to try to get across in these video games now. So instead of using a Japanese man in a game based in Japan, like they did with the other Assassin's Creed games, Altair, he was an Arab, obviously.
So again, we already talked about how there have been several characters like this. What was the name of the Aveline du Grand Pré? Afro-French assassin. So that was 2 people who weren't born in America. And did all the same shit that every other Assassin's Creed character did.
Okay,
One
Eric.
of my favorites, Connor, in Assassin's Creed 3, he was Native American, that was fine. And the most famous of them all, Ezio Auditore, who was Italian. So why in all those games would you have a character representative of the region they're from? But in this game, you want to...
Again, like we literally just saw with Evelyn, with, not Connor, but what's his name? Edward from Black Flag, with Adewale. All these characters that nobody else had a fucking problem with.
Promote a Japanese man and then use Yasuke. I understand why. We know why. But they're not going to tell you why, because we call it out. You're some kind of in-store phobe.
Sorry, dude. I'm using you as a shield, and I apologize. I hope that I send you some new followers because you seem really based. But I literally couldn't say it better than this, and it just hits different coming from a black guy. Sorry. I mean, out of context. You can anyway. I mean, the points matter more.
Or whatever. And since I'm black,
the points matter more. I'm gonna say that's pretty racist. I'm gonna say that's pretty racist. Like, it is literally something he wouldn't do. He wouldn't be saying if the guy wasn't black. He wouldn't be showing this video if the guy wasn't black. So, by Jeremy's logic, this is either him doing DEI or it's him being racist. I'll let him decide, I guess. Yeah, he's literally doing identity politics. Yeah, Patrick Dune, the quartering is literally tokenizing him. Shocked. I'm shocked.
And I'm calling it out. That means I must hate my skin or something. You know how they do. I just see this, and my immediate thought is they did this for brownie points. I can't think of any other reason why you would have a Assassin's Creed game based in Japan, which we've been clamoring for since the beginning of Assassin's Creed. and then have the main protagonist that is a male be black. I see that and I'm like, there's no other reason than I want claps for it. There's no other reason. That's like if Ghost of Tsushima, instead of using Jin, they use a white dude. People would be like, that doesn't make any sense. This doesn't make any sense to me. It's stupid.
Yeah, I love that example. Like he was talking about, or like we were talking about earlier. If Ghost of Tsushima, instead of Jin, they used a white dude. Again, might I point you towards William in Neo, a game made by a Japanese dev team and put out by a Japanese publisher. But hold on, that goes against the narrative. We're not talking about those things. That game's good. People already like it. We can't cause a fuss about that. It would make us look like idiots if we tried to revise history. Why try and do that when we can just keep the hate train rolling and try and make some bucks before Assassin's Creed Shadows comes out? However, you will notice if you go on Twitter, there are plenty of black people who think this is cool. I think I liked a tweet. I haven't been on Twitter very much, but I was scrolling for a bit earlier when I was dropping the stream announcement, and I saw a black, I think he was a podcaster, and I ended up throwing him a follow because he was getting hate for literally saying that he was going to buy it day one. Like he just saw the announcement, quote tweeted it, saying he was going to buy it day one because he was excited for it. And got, oh, actually, you know what? I got it. I actually have it. Yeah, so Persona Speaks, at Persona Speaks, he just responded day one. And this is the response from people. Of course, the black guy wants to buy a game his skin color is destroying. Here's another response he posted, which is, I cannot express enough, just blatant open racism. Now, we don't have time to go into how Elon Musk specifically continues to enable this shit to just fester and grow unabated. But consider for a moment, and I would ask this man, I didn't remember his name, I would ask him to consider that the people he's going out of his way to agree with, the people like the quartering, who are hoisting him on their shoulders to say, look, this black man agrees with us. This is the kind of shit that their communities allow. That they allow to fester. The attitudes that are constantly running on the undercurrent of movements like this Gamergate one.
What else can you say? I mean, it's so like Nick.
What else can you say? This thing I barely had a fucking opinion on. This thing that I had to rely on somebody else entirely to form my opinion on. I don't know, Jeremy. What else can you say? Can you say anything, actually? Jesus.
Obvious that I don't really know what did Ubisoft mean by this? The West's disdain for the Japanese and increasingly Koreans and Chinese. It's quite something to see in real time.
Oh my God. This is another thing I've actually been meaning to talk about, is how we saw, like, again, as with every other aspect of this, you can see the goalposts shift in real time. Just like when Stellar Blade came out, they were like, oh, all the journalists are going to get triggered over it. Nobody was triggered. It got good scores. As soon as it came out, they had to fucking find something else to make the culture war about. Like, they have to constantly shift the goalposts to maintain their relevancy. One undercurrent of Stellar Blade, and I talked about it in a little bit in the video, was people trying to make an argument that because Eastern games sometimes have sexier characters than Western games, if people disagree with that, they're basically being racist. Like, there is a concerted racist movement against Eastern game developers, which is like, what the fuck do you even say to that? When people are talking about how, oh, you're just racist against, like, because there's a double standard of sexuality in games, you're just racist against Korean developers or Japanese developers. And it's like, no? What? However, these same dorks just got done shitting a chicken about Hades 2. And among the things they were mad about was that Hermes' new art is more explicitly Asian, which, by the way, Hermes was literally always Asian. I spent like 20 hours last week playing the first Hades. Hermes has always been Asian. But they were mad about that because it was representation and inclusion. But now we see, again, for this specific case, they are mad that it's racist against Japan. The disdain for the Japanese. And here we have a forum post. Game set in Italy plays Italian man. Game set in France plays Frenchman. Game set in America plays Native American man. Game set in Greek plays a Greek man. Game set in Norway plays a Norseman. Game set in Japan. Why don't you talk about the other like 2 games set in America, 3 games set in America if you count Black Flag. You're in the Caribbean for that, but you play as Welsh, Irish, Afro-French. Kind of missed those. Those are 3 big ones. 2 of those were mainline games. One of those was a handheld spin-off. Why don't you talk about Adewale in the Black Flag DLC? I don't know. It's not like there's precedent for this shit happening before. Guess not. So much for all those stop Asian hate virtue signals. Wow. Well, Andromeda, it's less that I'm saying they don't see Irish or Welsh as white, and more that it still goes against their narrative of like, okay, by their logic, those characters should have been in Ireland. Those characters should have been under the British Empire, not in the American colonies. It's so annoying to have to see these things, this cycle, begin again every couple of weeks. Like every couple of weeks, like clockwork. And I understand everybody needs to have their hot take. I have actually enjoyed, for the most part, not having to participate this one on Twitter. I'm going to be real. It is liberating to just look at a story and be like, you know what? I actually don't care, because it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter to me that tens of thousands of people on the internet are so terminally online brained that they cannot just accept a game coming out without having to find something to get mad at it about. Like, I don't care anymore, because it's going to keep happening. These people are going to find another thing to latch onto after this in a week or 2. They're going to keep bringing it back up. And you'll notice, if, like I was talking about at the beginning, if the game ends up being bad, it will become canonized to them, by the way. It will be held up as an example of, oh, this is what Sweet Baby Inc. does. This is what consulting and DEI. See, you shoved a black protagonist in a game, and that's why the game is bad, instead of anything else. Just like we saw it happen with Suicide Squad. Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League is a perfect example of the inverse of what we were talking about earlier with X-Men 97. Where, at its core, it is a not good product. Like, there is so much wrong with it at a conceptual level. And based on the fact that it was in development hell for a long time, I'm assuming that's kind of always been the case. Like, you can look at the industry around Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League and realize how it came into existence. From Warner spending the last decade pumping their games full of fucking microtransactions. I say this as a Mortal Kombat fan. Like, if you're a fan of Mortal Kombat, you've seen it firsthand, how they've pumped it up. But it's not that. It can't come down to things like that. It can't come down to the dwindling, ever-dwindling live service game market. Oh, no. It's because you play as Harley Quinn and she kills Batman. And that was woke. And there's a rainbow flag, so that was woke. So now, to these folks, games like that have become canonized in a very real sense, as the proof positive that going woke makes you broke. But if Suicide Squad, like, let's imagine an alternate universe, a multiverse, if you will, of Suicide Squad came out And it was great. Game of the Year contender. Just like X-Men 97 would have faded into the ether. We would never have fucking heard about it again. It could have been the most woke game in the world. Like, it could have featured trans Ivy and Harley fucking on top of Batman's corpse. And if it got all Game of the Year awards and everybody loved it and everybody was playing it and it was like the next Destiny, these clowns wouldn't have given a shit anymore. Because it wouldn't have suited their narrative. The narrative that they need to keep alive. The narrative that we're going to keep seeing. With Assassin's Creed Shadows. Yeah, Renderer 96. God forbid a game just isn't just not good. Like, it is... Yeah, it's... And on another level, that's actually a really good point. Because it is disheartening to see what this does to the idea of criticism and critique. Much like where we were talking about a little bit earlier with turning off your brain and escapism and all that stuff. It's just disheartening to see so many people not even try and understand or not even understand why things aren't good. And I feel like this approach to criticism has unfortunately been baked into the internet, and unfortunately it's been... I feel like it's something that people like me and people like, people I know have been imbibing for, decades at this point, where you like the thing you like and you hear from a friend or you hear from somebody else that like, oh, no, that game is trash. And that becomes the narrative for you. You're like, oh, okay. I trust this person's opinion. I guess the game is trash. And like, that is the way people have been conducting critique and criticism. Not entirely, obviously. There's video essayists, there's reviewers, there's other ways to get that criticism. But I feel like this approach is an extension of that. Yeah. Evil Nala, that's a good way to look at it. Right. Like how they claim every mass shooting is done by a trans person, and when they learn it ain't, they don't want to talk about the shooting being Christian. Yeah, oh god, I hate that. Might be one of the worst things that TERFs share around, honestly, because there is a copy pasta shitty thing that goes around Twitter every day of see the connection between all of these shooters, and half of them weren't even trans, and half of them basically made it up so that they could. It was the one I think it was the Club Q shooter who was basically it came out, the lawyers basically admitted that he said he was non-binary to cause controversy, to just stir shit up. But you can't argue with people. Honestly, you can't argue with people like that. They do not want to argue. They just want to piss you off. Yeah, Ophelia, it doesn't help that scoring is fucked and a 7 out of 10 is considered a bad game since the industry got scared of scoring low, so the score means nothing. Yeah, I mean, that is a multi-tiered issue, because I feel like the problem with scoring in games is, and I say this as somebody who, I'm still on a, relatively tight budget. I cannot buy every game that comes out. I'm a little bit better than I was, but especially when I was poor and I couldn't afford any games, if there was a game that came out, I needed to make sure that shit was a 10. If I was going to buy a game new, good example is Metal Gear Solid 5. I'm going to play Metal Gear Solid 5 when it dropped. I knew it would be a banger. No question. Death Stranding? Not the same. I just didn't know. Morningstar option 89. Hey Jordan, I'm going to bed now. I recommend playing AC Mirage. It has black box mission and none of that grindy side quest. Good night. Thank you. I will definitely think about it. And so that's part of the question, right? That is part of a thing that a lot of players have to consider is if a game comes out, and it's not just that, but also it's other questions of how much replay value am I going to get out of this. If I'm spending $60 on a game, and that is one of 2 games I get a year, it's probably not going to be, unless I don't have any time, it's probably not going to be a 5-hour game. Or I guess, yeah, here's another problem. It's $70 now. But it's probably not going to be a 5-hour game with no replay value. You know, think about The Order 1886. Like, a game I rented, platinumed in a day, returned it. Haven't touched it again since. Like, that is a hard game to say, hey, here's your AAA experience, right? But you compare that, it was a $60 game, compare that to The Witcher 3, you know? And there's a lot of differences there. But those are part of the value proposition is a massive question that comes into effect when you're talking about, okay, why do corporations mandate this, this, and this? And I think that's been a huge problem with Ubisoft games is that, like, technically they offer a lot of bang for their buck, but like, it's just empty shit over time. It's just like, I've like, if I'm not playing authored side missions, what's the point? You know, like, I'm just running around doing the same shit over and over and over and over. I was wondering, was just thinking about 1886 when you said that. Oh. 2K hours in City Skylines? God damn. Are you an actual civil engineer? Jonathan, thank you very much for super chatting $5. A rainbow is an optical phenomenon caused by dispersion of light in water droplets in the sky. Water is woke, spread the word. Water's keeping me alive, so spread the word. Lieutenant, I keep buying indie games that have a high replay value. I have so many farming sims, I don't know what to do. Well, I mean, like, and that is also why roguelikes are a really great value proposition. And well, and again, somebody said Hellblade is the exception. Hellblade was $30 on release. Or was it 20? No, it was 30. I reviewed Hellblade. Didn't I? Pretty sure I did. Hey, that's me! I reviewed this. What did I give Hellblade? Let's see. God damn, what a good looking game. 9.5 out of 10. Shit, yeah. Yeah, Banana Brain ZF. It was $30. And again, that's a different value proposition. You can usually be like, okay, well, if I'm gonna get, I might play it twice, I can get 6 or 7 hours out of it. Like, you can, I do, like, kind of by, like, movie rules. Like, okay, if you pay, let's say baseline, like, you pay $10 to $14 for a movie ticket. Italian Shakespeare. Sorry, I want to answer this. What has been a real bad AAA or AA game that has come out recently? I mean, like, bad controls or bad story. I mean, Suicide Squad is... Here's the thing. Suicide Squad actually controls really well. And I think the story is, like, it's fun. It's the most engaging part of that game, for sure. But, like, a real piece of shit... Well, I don't even... that Gollum game from last year, I didn't play it, but it was apparently, like, a war crime, basically. Gotham Knights was... I tried to play Gotham Knights. It just seemed really unremarkable. Like, it just seemed really boring. Yeah, I don't... I'm trying to... I guess I kind of just don't... Like, most games that come out, especially in the last couple of years, we haven't had any real bad games in a while. Like, I think that Gollum game was one of the last times that people were like, oh, shit, you got... Like, this is so bad, you got to see this shit. It was like a... No, Starfield, definitely not. Starfield is unremarkable in ways, but it is not a bad game. Oh, the Kong game. I forgot about the Kong game. Yep. Yeah, no, Starfield. I'm not talking about like as a personal preference. I'm talking about like a game that is literally busted. Like you have games like Starfield and games like Kong are in a different level of badness. Like they are in a they're in a class with like Ride to Hell Retribution and there's Ride to Hell Retribution. What else would I say? Escape Dead Island is another one. There were a couple there that were like real rough. If anybody ever played Alekine's Gun, I wonder if I don't think I was still there. No. Yeah, I don't know. Oh, you know what? Redfall might be up there. Redfall was pretty rough. Yeah, well, and Redfall is like uncooked. Like Redfall is like if you get chicken and you open it up and the inside is still frozen. It's just like, oh no, this is not healthy to eat. Yeah, it's Redfall was God. Redfall pissed me off too because I really love the open world. Like I thought it was a really like intensely finely detailed world with a lot of stuff to find, but the gameplay was just not interesting. Like it was just not there. Ink the Alpha Crafter, what's Redfall? Redfall was the only big Xbox exclusive last year, I think. And Redfall was one of the only big Xbox exclusives last year, but you play as a vampire hunter in a small western town. Escape Dead Island was the terrible cel-shaded Dead Island third-person action stealth game. I think it was a stealth game. But yeah, let me see. It's pretty fucking bad. But no, I meant to talk about why I think the new Assassin's Creed will look pretty good is that, oh man, this was such an era too. Like, this was an era with like, this is going to be a one for the old heads, but Dark. Yeah, hell yeah, Dark.